Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to your custom deep dive. Today, we are looking at a geopolitical intelligence report on Kenya, and honestly, it reads less like standard politics and more like a massive corporate conglomerate where the
Oh,
board of directors just mutinied,
oh, absolutely.
right? And now the shareholders are like throwing tear gas in the streets. That's the exact level of volatility we're mapping out today, April 11th, 2026.
Yeah, it's a highly volatile situation. And, because we are examining raw politically charged events and shifting alliances as they're happening, it is worth noting right up front that our role today is really just to map the intelligence for you.
Exactly.
We aren't endorsing any side's narrative or taking any political stance here. We're just tracing the fault lines and reporting the claims from all the parties involved.
Yeah, we are just here to help you read the map.
Yeah.
And to understand the chaos happening today, I mean, we actually have to rewind 3 days to Wednesday, April 8th.
Right, the funeral.
Yeah, solemn event. It was the funeral for Nine-Darua MP David Kiaraho, and it went completely off the rails when President William Ruto and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua crossed paths.
Well, funerals for prominent figures in Kenya often serve as these massive political summits, right? But here, the protocol entirely broke down. Gachagua arrived early
Wait,
and,
he was uninvited to the stage, right?
yeah, uninvited to the main stage, and sections of the crowd actually began chanting anti-Ruto slogans. Then the president arrives and deliberately bypasses Gachagua without, so much as a handshake.
A very public, very icy
So
snow.
very public.
But here's where it gets really interesting for the ruling coalition's chain of command. Senator John Methu gets on the microphone and openly defies the president. He says, and I quote, "I respect you very much, but I do not fear you." Like, how does a local senator get away with saying that to a sitting president in public?
Well, it comes down to how the traditional political chain of command works there. It relies heavily on a specific mechanism, which is patronage. The executive branch maintains regional loyalty by funneling national funds into local infrastructure projects. But with Kenya's debt to GDP ratio projected to hit 70.1% this year.
Wow, 70%.
Yeah, the state is effectively broke. So when the money for local projects dries up, like the unfinished Olkalu Stadium that Methu specifically mentioned, the president loses his leverage.
I see.
The fear of executive retribution just vanishes because there are basically no financial rewards left to withhold.
So when the money for patronage dries up, local leaders like Methu have to, I guess, start looking for a new political umbrella. Is that lack of fiscal glue what is driving the actual street-level chaos today in Kikuyu Town?
That is the direct result, yeah. The friction at the top has officially hit the pavement. At 5 a.m. this morning, youths blockaded the southern bypass with bonfires and debris, smashing motorists' windows.
Just total chaos.
Exactly. And by 1:50 p.m., anti-riot police were firing tear gas to disperse these massive crowds that were waiting for Gachagua and his newly formed Democracy for Citizens Party, or DCP.
Hold on, though. I mean, Kenya is no stranger to political demonstrations. Aren't these just typical political protests getting out of hand?
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer polarization of the narratives surrounding the violence. Both sides are actively claiming the other engineered it. Gachagua is accusing the state of what he calls Haiti benchmarking.
Wait, Haiti, as in, like, the Caribbean nation?
Yes, referencing Kenya's recent, highly controversial police deployment to Haiti to fight gangs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Gachagua is claiming the government used that deployment as a training ground and is now using state-backed goons and partisan police tactics to suppress his supporters here at home.
That's a massive accusation.
It is. Meanwhile, government allies, like Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wa, accuse Gachagua of orchestrating the window, smashing himself to play the martyr. And again, we are simply reporting these dueling accusations impartially, but the reality on the ground is that the streets are quite literally burning.
And that fire seems to be spreading, right? Because I saw in the source notes that unrest is bleeding into President Ruto's own stronghold in the Rift Valley through something called the Wantam Rebellion. What exactly is driving that?
So, Wantam is a rallying cry. It's a movement born entirely from grassroots economic anger. It's essentially voters in the president's own backyard rejecting recent tax policies and saying, the cost of living has just become unsustainable.
Right.
And this widespread economic frustration is forcing a massive political realignment.
Oh, you were talking about the UAG, the United Alternative Government.
Exactly.
This is Gachagua teaming up with Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua. But weren't these people bitter rivals just, like, recently? It feels less like a shared ideological vision and more like rival sports teams merging solely to defeat a reigning champion.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is exactly what's happening. This is a systemic battle over the legitimacy of the state's economic model. When the government lacks the fiscal space to fix the cost of living or finish local infrastructure, political loyalty shatters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
These former rivals are just capitalizing on that vacuum ahead of the 2027 elections.
So let's summarize what this all means. We have traced this rapid shift from post-impeachment stability to a highly volatile, tear gas-filled electoral conflict. And it's all being driven by empty government coffers and shifting alliances.
Yeah, it is a stark reminder of how quickly political order can collapse when the underlying economic foundation cracks.
Which really leaves you with something to consider. If stalled local stadiums and high national debt are the true catalysts tearing Kenya's political landscape apart today, how long until other heavily indebted democracies worldwide see their own political fractures erupt in the exact same way?
It's a great question.
Because when the patronage money dries up, that boardroom mutiny might just end up on your front lawn.